Hey everybody, Chris Coyier here. A great way to get better and learn front-end web development is when you see something really cool on the web to analyze it, figure out what's going on, and perhaps try to code it yourself. In this case, we're going to attempt to kind of copy an element that I saw on Tony's website here, Tony Ligic, I think. Apologies for the mispronunciation there if it happened. But on his About page, there's this widget right here that I'm circling on that is a list of hobbies that Tony has. And I just love it. As you click through these different, kind of photos come sliding in, the text comes sliding away. Of course, the first thing you notice is the animation. I think this is just beautiful. Now, we could open up the web inspector and figure out what's going on here, or we could try to live code it ourselves and just figure it out. We can get to the animations. I think that might be a second video. I think the first one is to kind of analyze what's going on here from an HTML perspective and set up a component of our own that's ready to then handle the animations and some of the other details. I thought the way that we could approach it is by building a web component. Because then, we've built this thing, we could deliver it to other people for them to use, or we could reuse it ourselves a number of times. And as we're building it, let's try to do it accessibly, let's try to do it performantly, and let's do it in a way that's basically server-side rendered so that the HTML that's on the page is going to be kind of good to go no matter what the circumstances are, even if JavaScript, for example, were disabled or didn't run for some reason, or this ended up being in, for example, a blog post that goes out over RSS where JavaScript's not going to run. How can we deliver this content in a way that is still usable in all of those scenarios? So I think we'll live code it, So we can always have Tony's website up for reference, but we'll start from scratch here in CodePen with absolutely nothing. And like I said, I think I want to do it as a web component, a custom element. So let's call it something like activities. I told you we're starting from scratch. Widget. And then we'll just close the widget. Now that's kind of meaningless in HTML. We could put stuff in here if we wanted to, and it's going to render over here, but it's just going to render as like a span. The browser has no idea what that element is. Elements that have a dash in them are reserved to be custom elements. It's just a part of the web component spec in the world. So we can make a web component by defining a class and then calling an API called customelements.define with the name of that widget. So it's kind of like that. But this is referencing a class that doesn't yet exist. Now, we could write that class from scratch, but there's enough of web component libraries that do a lot of the boilerplate junk and are pretty small and useful. One of those is called lit HTML from Google, and that's the one that we're going to use here just because I think it's a pretty good one. So we're going to import lit element as well as some helper methods from lit. This esm.sh is just kind of like a cloud CDN for NPM. So it's kind of like we're just importing these things from lit. If you were working locally, you might be, NPM installing those, but here we'll just pull them straight off the internet, and then we need to make that class. So we're going to type class activities. What do we call? We could just copy and paste it. Class activities widget extends, and then we're going to extend lit element. Now we don't need what it's giving us there. I have Codium installed as a little AI tool, and I kind of like it overall, but we don't always need that kind of thing. Now, a class like this often has a constructor, stuff like that. Constructor where you call super, so this works, that kind of thing. Anyway, now that this is running, it doesn't have anything to render, and it kind of goes away. Isn't that unusual? Stuff in here is just gone now. Because, now this thing has what's called a render method. And when we render, we want to return HTML as a tagged template literal. And that's where I could put stuff. I think that should work. Or does it require HTML? It might. No, it doesn't. A string is just fine. But in here, I can put actual HTML. I could write div, hello, div. You're not going to see the div. It's going to render in a div here. I suppose I could open DevTools and we could poke and kind of prove that that's true. Now you can still see stuff in here, but that's being hidden through this because now we only are viewing what's called the shadow root. The shadow DOM is a thing in web components, and by default, elements created with lit element are shadow DOM, so that's what we are getting. Now, this puts us in an interesting thing that I wanted to talk about right away in this video is that, like, I think that's okay. There are some dynamic things that we want to be rendered by JavaScript, but there's lots of like less dynamic things that we kind of want rendered just in the HTML, just up here, just in the usage of our custom element. And that is all this content, all this stuff from Tony's website, these images, these titles, these paragraphs. I think that deserves to just be in the regular HTML. So what would that look like? Let's call it an activity. Oh gosh, it thinks I'm writing CSS. Come on, Codium. Activity tab. I'm trying to get Emmet to go, but Codium is so fast that it's overriding Emmet. We'll take that one. So there's an activity, and then activity, what I'm thinking of is when I think about this design, I'm thinking it's in halves. There's the left half and the right half, and any given activity has a left half and a right half. So we kind of want two things inside of there. So a div, and I'll Command Shift D for another div in there. These are the two halves. And let's say this is class equals image, and we'll put the image side in there, and this is class equals text. We'll put the text stuff in there. How do we want to do this? I think I can grab some kind of, let's say I had some images from Unsplash or something like that. Let me just plop one in there and we'll see it render immediately. Or no, we're not going to see it render because we're hiding all of this stuff. We're going to have to get there. Let's finish some copy first. So in the text side, I'll have, for example, an H3 widget that is describing what's being seen here in this. I'm going to hit save. Make sure to save your work, people. So it's still just saying hello because that's what we're rendering here. How do we tell lit element that I actually want to render what's up here? Well, there's this method as part of the class in lit element called, what is it? Create render root. Yes, that. But we're just going to return this. Just return whatever you find in here, and it should be rendering that. Okay, great. Now we've kind of like aborted the shadow DOM in this way, and I think that's good. For us, I want this to be what's called a light DOM web component. That is, this stuff is just participating in the regular DOM that the rest of the page participates in. So I could, for example, write CSS like text that has a background red on it or something. And it's unlike the shadow DOM, which would be protect against this outside CSS coming in. We're now using the light DOM and CSS applies there. I think that's just kind of a nice way to work and perfectly fine for a component like this. Now, what we have not built from an HTML perspective is this thing, which I consider a bit dynamic. Like I want that to be just rendered and handled by JavaScript. I don't think it's that important of information to hard code and each different activity. I think that would be silly. And these buttons are not there either. Now, because those are so dynamic, it wouldn't be interesting, for example, to have that be in the HTML that's served to a blog post. It'd just be some buttons sitting there that don't work. So I think that is stuff that I want to put in here. Notice it still says hello here. So what we're doing here is we have HTML that's being rendered from the real HTML on the page and some JavaScript injected stuff as well. Isn't that interesting? So for example, one of the things we can do in this render method is return stuff that, like the count. Like let's say this is actually, let's give it a class of activities count, and it's going to say like 1 out of 4 or something. Let's make 4 activities overall. So now it's just going to say 1 out of 4. Fantastic. But we want those to be dynamic pieces of information. So we want the total count to be this dynamic thing that actually gets counted. And this is whatever the active slide is. So we're going to need some JavaScript variables to help us with, and we might as well make them properties on the class so that anything can react to them if necessary. I think that's kind of a nice way to do it. So in lit element, we do what's called static properties, and it's just an object. So static properties. Now, what do we need? What we said? We said count. Count is a type of number. These are typed even though it's not TypeScript. It's just kind of, I guess, a nice thing that lit helps us with or something. And then we want to know like which one of these activities, because there's going to be multiple activities, is the one that's active right now. Like as I, later on, I click a button that says go to the next activity. I need to know what that is. We'll call it active activity. That's also a number. So now I have these two properties that I can kind of set and use and actually render, which is kind of nice. but they have no value to begin with. So that might be something that we consider doing. Like in the constructor, now that this is relevant because of super, I could say this.count. I guess I could set it right now. There's one or whatever, and this dot active activity is one. Sure. Now they have some actual value instead of just being null or undefined or whatever. Now I can actually use them, and the way that you use them in lit element isn't terribly weird, really. You just do it kind of like it's, how when you're in a template literal, then you can use $ curly brackets that dynamically displays that one, right? And then we could say slash. There you go. Thanks, AI. Active activity. So it's going to say 1 out of 1. And if we changed the count to 4, because we plan to have at least kind of 4 activities. Oops, I put the count first. Why didn't you stop me, people? The active activity is the one you want there, /count. So it's going to say 1 out of 4. Fantastic. The dynamicness is working a little bit, but there's another method that you should be aware of on lit element, and it's this thing called connected callback. Yeah, fantastic. It has its own super method too. And what this is saying is it's kind of like a DOM ready event. Like when you see this activities widget happen in the DOM, and then you render all the stuff you're going to render or whatever. Now it's like ready. You can be sure that if you, for example, do a query selector, one of those JavaScript things in there to find stuff in the DOM, that it's ready for that. It's kind of just saying like, I'm ready now. I'm connected. I'm good to go. So one of the things we could do is like count all the activities for real. So let's go like this dot all activities. We're just attaching it to this because then we have access to it wherever we want to. Let's see how AI did there. Query selector all the activities. Then loop over them and add a click handler? No, we don't need that. But we do just like that it has query selected all the activities. And then we could say this.count is actually this.allActivities.length. And we don't have to actually set it here. We can set it in the connected callback. And now it's going to find 1, not 4, because there is only 1 activity. When it does query selector, it's just finding this 1 up here. Now let me just cheat just a smidge and put more activities up here. I have all 4 of them, just different images from Unsplash of different, just silly, not real activities, differently sized images, things like that. Now there is 4, and you can see the 4 at the bottom here is rendering how many activities it has found here, which is pretty cool, I think. So we're getting there on this. Now, what's kind of neat about this is even if JavaScript never rendered, like if all this JavaScript, I'll just select all and delete it. What you're going to see here is this. Notice the preview. It didn't change at all. This is the content that's going to be seen by anybody, whether JavaScript is involved or not. But if I undo that, now we're getting all that's happening now is we get the count down here, but we're building up interactivity. We're building up this class that can do more useful types of things. So what could we do here? We could say one of the things we could do is like make the first activity active, I think, like we could this dot all activities, like the first one, right? Which is is it just an array? Could we select the first one and add class active? Now this one that it has found should have a class of activity and active. Let's verify that's true in the DOM here. Activity, and no, it's not active yet. All activities 0. Let's just view the code. Oh, there's a little warning here. That's kind of probably telling us that there's. I spelled it wrong. It's underscore all activities. Now, instead of looking at, we can always look in the web inspector, but if we just set active background red, apparently that's my thing. Oh yeah, okay. So it selected the first one and then that class is there. Great. So if we said this dot all activities 2 or something, neat. And as a matter of fact, shouldn't we use whatever the active activity is? Maybe we'll put that in there. And then it's going to be, even though it says 1, this array is 0 indexed. So, 0 would be the first one and whatever. This is just making sure that one of these activities is the one being shown. And as a matter of fact, what we could do is something like display none on activities, unless it also has the active class and then it's display block. So now we're only seeing one. So if I change this active activity then to the next one, we'll only see the second activity. I don't think we're actually going to end up doing that because you can see, like, yes, you're only seeing the text for one of the slides in Tony's example here, but you are seeing all of the images kind of peek out from below. So I don't think we'd want to hide the entire image. But you get the point. Now we have the opportunity at the CSS level to start thinking about how we want to display these things, which is pretty darn interesting, I think. So what else can we do here? What we need to do is add the pagination. That way, I think we're going to have the complete setup for all basically the HTML and the JavaScript custom element is going to be like ready to go. And then in the next video, we can circle back and look at getting the styling just right for everything and adding those animation touches, which really shouldn't be so bad with such an excellent foundation that we're building. So let's just add some more stuff here, like the navigation, for example. So like nav, I'm putting a nav wrapper around it because it really is navigation. We're changing the activities here. What we want to do is give ourselves some buttons. Now we're using, this is, good semantic HTML. A button has a natural focus state. Adding a click handler to it is appropriate. It's not changing the page, so it really doesn't need to be an anchor element. It is a button. And for now, let's just say like next, I guess. We'll duplicate that line and say previous. So we have a next button and a previous button. Actually, sometimes it's reversed, right? You put previous first on the left and next on the right. Sure. And we could put SVG arrows in there or whatever, but maybe we'll enhance that as we go. But let's keep that real simple for now. One of the things then we can do is we need a click handler on it. And that's one of the reasons I would reach for lit at all. We don't need it. There's always, you can always put an ID on it, query selector it, get a reference to that button and then add a click handler to the button and all that. But if you're used to writing in Vue or React or something and you have these nice like on click and you just kind of go for it, I think that's nice. And it's nice that lit makes that more available. The way that it works in lit is that you go at click, and now at click has that. And within the double quotes there, we have an opportunity to then I have access to this, which is the class that we're in, and we can call something. So we'll call it like move previous or something. Okay, great. And then we'll have a click handler on next that calls a different function called like move next. All right, that's just the syntax of how that handles. Now those don't exist yet, so if we click it, we'll probably get a client-side error, or it will just not attach that handler because it knows that it doesn't exist. What these are methods right on the class. So move previous. Am I going to get anything useful? It's like a little too much, so we'll just chill. And then we'll make another one called move next. Now, just to verify that it's working, we'll go console.log. I don't know. Yeah, sure. Previous. And I'll open the simple log here on CodePen. And if I click previous, am I getting that console.log? I sure am. So great. What this can do is change what the active activity is. So if we already have a value of it, it's a property on the class already. So this .active activity is what we need to modify. So if we're moving previously, we could say this activity, I don't know, just decrement it. And this .active activity, we could plus it. Of course, there's going to end up being a little bit more to this because there's only 4 activities, so we can't go forever. But look, next. Now we're on slide number 12, previous. What's cool is, isn't that nice that we get that kind of reactivity for quote unquote free out of lit element here? I think that's awfully nice. Why isn't my formatting working? Format my code, please. Great. That all we did was change this method here, and because it's declared as a property up here, and this is all being rendered down here, we just get that kind of natural reactivity from lit element, which is awfully kind of nice. So move previous we have going on. We could add a little logic to that that's like, well, if it's less than 1, meaning it's 1 and now it's gone down to 0, you should circle back to just the highest number of activities we have, which is the count, and then call this function that we haven't written yet, but we'll get there in a second, that changes basically the class on what's going on here. That's what we're going to do. And move next is really, really similar, but we are just going to, if the activity is greater than the count, so we're on like the 4th slide, say, and then we increment it, and now it's 5. Oops, 5 is too many. There is no slide 5. Then circle back to the first one, and then call this make active class. Make active is just something that we're going to call to do the DOM manipulation work that we need to do. So make active. That underscore is just kind of a simple little way to say like, no, this is kind of just like an internal method. We really don't need to mess with it if we don't want to. It's kind of an old school idea that it's like indicating that it's private, but it's not actually making it a private method of the class. We don't need to mess with that. If we really needed to make something private, there's more modern ways to do that. Okay, so what we want to do is we're taking in a value here. It's like make active index is basically what we want to know. Like, okay, you want to make one of these activities active, the one that we're currently looking at. You know, if we look at Tony's thing, number 3 is active now. If we hit forward, now 4 is active. We're changing from 3 to 4. That's what we're trying to have happen. So we're going to take in the value of 4 and then make everything that's 4 the active one. So one of the things that we need to do is remove the active class from the one that currently has it. So just to underthink it a little bit, I'm going to loop over all the activities and just rip off whichever one is active right now. It doesn't matter. Just remove the class of active and then add the class of active to the one that we've just passed in. Right. So I think this is actually, because we wrote this really silly hide show thing, this might actually start working. Oh gosh, look at that. Yeah. Next. That's the last one. Then it circles back to the first one, goes to the second one, goes to the third one that has this huge image on it, and to 4. And then it circles back. And previous should go to 4. So look, we kind of did it. Kind of nice. Okay. That's neat. I guess we could start writing CSS, but like I said, I think we're going to save that for the next video. I think we pretty much have what we need to kind of be done. Be done with the structure of what we're trying to build. Now it's just a matter of placing everything where we need to place it, animating the little cool animations in there, which I think we can pretty much do with just CSS. We're not going to pull in anything special. And then, set up typography, do light mode and dark mode, that kind of thing. Shouldn't take us too much more work, especially with this solid of a foundation. So thanks for watching so far, and check out the rest of it in the next video.